Hello everybody. I would really like to title this particular video Qualities for Leadership. Now some of these qualities might really surprise you, but I feel that they are still incredibly important. Um, One of them, of course, has to do with pain. Being able to take and to endure pain is incredibly important for leadership. I refer back to the movie Troy with Brad Pitt playing Achilles. He was at one moment confronted by a young man who said, "Oh, I don't know if I could ever face this particular giant or this particular situation." And Achilles looked down at him and said, "That is why nobody will remember you." you know, uh, there is danger in leadership and any kind of act of bravery or nobility. You have to basically have a face off with pain and possibly even death. And what Achilles was saying was that, no guts, no glory. So there has to be a willingness to die or even to suffer pain in order to really experience glory, which is leadership. So the ability to being able to accept pain and to be patient and to work with people and to listen to them, to receive correction. This is a good leader, not a bad leader. All of these things go right back to your ability to being able to take pain and to accept pain in your life. But there is another surprising quality that most people might not have really necessarily considered, and that is a lack of innocence. If you are going to be a leader, you cannot be innocent. You have to forfeit your right to being innocent. If you are an innocent leader, you will not judge your people properly or righteously. You won't have a tendency to understand where they're coming from or what they've been through. You won't understand what is a danger and how to confront that danger. So when we are talking about, say, for example, women in leadership, I would have to say that these two qualities can sorely be lacking in women. Obviously, women still have a high endurance for pain. We have children, um, but I think we're kind of like sensible pain holders. Glory doesn't have as much of an appeal. Laying our lives down on the battlefield doesn't typically have as much of an appeal. There are some strange women out there who do have a taste for glory, but very few. But also in regards to innocency, women in leadership who are overly innocent, who don't understand the corruption and ambition and the power and lust for control and authority that is in the heart of man, will lead a woman leader to make some very, 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 very bad decisions, which is one of my concerns with Europe and actually the Western world, that as they embrace more and more of a sort of feminized perspective on life, that sort of female nurturing brain takes over, and they are unable to handle the true darkness that is in the heart of man. So these two things in regards to leadership, I do truly recognize and see as weaknesses in women. And so it is very, very rare to find a woman who really can navigate power in a very good or successful way. So, in regards to leadership, you cannot be innocent. Innocence is not for our leadership. Innocence is for children or for sheep who have a shepherd who can watch out for the wolves, but it is not for a leader. Having a leader with a high ability to experience pain for what's right and what's noble, whether that is confronting, because sometimes it hurts to confront, but that is a pain you have to accept and to embrace when you are a leader. And also the pain of doing what's right or being misunderstood or someone getting mad at you. But the third thing that I think is really important in regards to leadership qualities is the belief that God is sovereign. You know, you have to believe. You know, I go right back to King David. King David was given incredibly, exceptionally special promises from God. He was a king in Israel. You know, he was given basically a sort of eternal dynasty. I mean, David was given so much, but he was still insecure, and he was still trying to usurp the authority of other people, and he was still in some ways meddling in the authority of God and the lives of others. He was still incredibly confident and secure in his power because he also had to submit to King Saul. I mean, that way you can really see King David in a very, very special and good way. That King Saul was really after him because he could recognize that God had given King David the kingdom. And so there were a few opportunities when David could have cut his competition down, and he didn't. He left it in God's hands because he was completely secure that if God said you're going to be king, you're going to be king. So King David showed that flash of ambition with Bathsheba, but he showed incredible ability to submit to God and his sovereignty and his authority by his dealings with Saul, but also his dealings with Absalom and all the other rebellions that took place when David was king. You know, he really trusted that God was in control. And so if you are an insecure leader who really doesn't understand that God is in control and God is the one who establishes your authority, or he's the one who takes it away, then you will be insecure. You will make the mistakes of Saul, which is that he disobeyed God in regards to the sacrifice in order to please his people. He was a Saul had some severe problems with people pleasing, which showed that he was too afraid of pain or possibly his own loss, and he was way too manipulated by people. But also too, you could see this was the same thing with King Solomon when he lost half of his kingdom. The man who got the other half of his kingdom was insecure. He was afraid he would lose his people, the control over the people, when they went to Israel for worship of God. So he introduced fake gods. And all through the book of Kings, you see what insecurity and the lack of trust in God and his sovereignty does. Also, too, in our avoidance of pain, our avoidance of judgment, trying to make sure that we never have to experience any kind of pain in regards to judgment. You know, we have to trust. We absolutely have to trust that if we help a person like King David enter into his kingship, if we are a person who helps Bathsheba become a son, if we are a person who, you know, helps any one of these biblical characters become all that they are called to be and all that is in their spiritual inheritance, we have to trust that if the sin in them rises up against us and squishes us, we have to also really trust that somehow God meant for that to happen and that God is absolutely sovereign. And this is an area that I know that I can really struggle in because of the fact that I have definitely seen so much of this where you are helping somebody and then they sort of, you know, they really, really kick you down and try to hold you back. And this is very, very painful to go through, but anybody who is in ministry will eventually go through it. So I would say that the three key factors to really being in power and keeping power and being successful with your people is absolutely the sovereignty that it is God who put you there, and it will only be God who can take you out, and being really confident and comfortable with that. It is the ability to being able to take pain, and it is a lack of innocency. Once again, I stress, you cannot be innocent and be in leadership. You have to prove to the people that you can stand up against the wolves. And that really means that you have to show that you are, there is some kind of metal or some kind of steel in your guts that can really defend them. So I really believe that this is the key to success. And I really truly believe that these are the qualities of a true leader. But I believe, once again, that if a system is very, very corrupt, and the leaders are very corrupt, and they are more interested in promoting those people who play up to them because it kind of makes them get an ego kick, they are almost seeing the very end of their own authority. Because while you don't want disrespectful people, I mean, I'm certainly not saying that, if a person's real disrespectful and cocky towards a leader, that somehow is some sign that they are great for leaders. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. But highly submissive people are highly ambitious people. And those people who are really willing to play up to you are very likely willing to stab you in the back. So if you promote and surround yourself with people who tell you exactly what you want to hear and sort of adapt to everything that you're expecting from them and are really wanting to control them a little bit, you are seeing the downfall of your own kingdom, whatever kingdom that might be, whatever sphere of influence or power or authority that you have. And if that particular leader then takes it one step further and they actually start to persecute the righteous, they know that there are people who are working for them or in ministry with them or a friend with them or whatever else. If they start to actually persecute those people who are actually really, truly, legitimately righteous, who respect them, who honor them, and who help equalize the hierarchy and are doing good and are righteous, then you can know that that person's time and power is short-lived and they are going to lose. They're going to lose their place. It's only a matter of time. So these are the different kinds of ways that we can really see how our leadership is doing and how other people's leaderships are doing. And if we find ourselves in a system where all those who are in power and wielding power are persecuting the righteous and promoting the ambitious wicked, it will take a very, very long time for vindication or righteousness to break through. And it takes an exceptional individual to being able to break through. And that is one of the reasons why in the story of Daniel, the encouragement to endure is there. And in the book of Revelations, the encouragement to endure is there, because the power of man is very strong, but the power of God is even stronger. But it's slow and it's simmering, and it can take some time. King David, it took a long, long, long time. He was persecuted by Saul for a long, 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 long time before he was finally promoted and given his own kingdom. And then, even still then, the ambition of his own heart created problems for him and his own house. And we are seeing those problems even still today. So, leadership, very important.